Welcome to the very first episode of Her Success Done Differently, Soul to Soul Conversations, and our own little talk show here at the Uninstitute of Women. My name's Maz Schirmer, and I am speaking to Naomi Gallagher tonight. And yeah, all excited. It is a topic that is very common, and Naomi certainly is somebody to talk to about that because she's just gone through a lot of transformation for herself. So yeah, tonight's topic, everyone, is playing small, keeping safe.
So I'm Naomi. I'm 42 years old. I'm married, been married for 17 years, and I have 3 children. I have a 21-year-old daughter, a nearly 14-year-old son, and nearly 13-year-old son, and all of them have a diagnosis of ASD. And my boys were diagnosed very young. So motherhood was a really full-on journey for me. And also my experience of motherhood between my 21-year-old and then my 2 boys was a very different experience as well, just different stages of life and different things happening. And obviously raising boys is very different too.
I know so many people, even in my personal life, that are raising children on the spectrum and adults as well. And
yeah, it's a big job.
It's certainly something that you don't really sign up for, but then it's life, isn't it? And then you make the most of that.
That's right. And yeah, I certainly did. I just stepped up and did what I had to do to help them. I knew that early intervention was the best way to go. So I did as much as I could early so that hopefully later I would have more time for myself to do the things that I wanted to do. And it certainly has worked out that way. So it's been really good.
What I love about you is your passion. And do you want to share your cause?
Yeah, well, Maz, as I mentioned, my experience of motherhood was very different with my daughter to what it was with my sons. And I was a very angry mum, unfortunately, and it was mostly towards my daughter. And that relationship was very strained for a long time. And it was quite different. She didn't receive a diagnosis either until she was much older. So not officially till she was 18. And whereas my boys were diagnosed when they were 2. So I had a really different approach with them and I saw them in a very different way. She was very bright and I expected so much of her. And then the way that I raised the boys was very different because you could see that the needs for extra support were very clear.
That is different, isn't it? That the girls often don't show the signs.
That's right. That's right. So the way it showed for her was being very difficult, not being able to follow instructions, being very rigid and very persistent, very determined, a lot of things that at the time were very difficult for me to cope with. Whereas the boys just seemed to just need help with just the functional life things. And my cause is to help women who don't have good relationships with their children, because the bad relationship came from my lack of emotional regulation. It came from me not liking myself. It came from me being really caught up in my own stuff. Like, it sounds silly, but I really felt like every morning she got up with the intention of upsetting me, right? And she wasn't. It was just her personality, and that was the clash. And it wasn't until later where I understood her better.
Yeah.
And I'd done my healing work that we've been able to really repair our relationship and have a closer relationship. But that would not have been possible without the healing. And so that's why I'm passionate about helping mothers to do their healing so they can break their cycles, so they can be more present to themselves and to their children and more attuned to their needs so that they can attune to their children better as well.
Yes, because you actually told me a story just recently. You were talking about your daughter, and it was just evidence of you having come so far with emotional intelligence, because you said to be a parent and actually be vulnerable enough to sit back and allow your child to actually share what it was like for her.
Absolutely, because it can be really difficult to realize that maybe your behavior has caused your children trauma.
Yeah.
And it can be difficult to hear. But if we're not able to do that, it makes it a lot harder for them to start on their own healing journey and to move forward. So it's really important that we can be vulnerable and say, you know what? I could have done a lot better, and I'm really sorry that I didn't.
It's not easy. I think that's a great cause, and that there's a lot of women that would really resonate with that.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to ask, how did that play out in your life? This topic tonight is playing small, and a lot of women wouldn't know even that they've got it. So I think it's a topic that sometimes people don't know they have. So that's why I just wanted to ask, how was it playing out in your life? How did you know that was the problem?
I realized that I had never fully 100% committed myself, burn the bridge decision to make my business work for me.
Yeah.
And because I have a wonderful husband, he provides for us. I don't have to do this. I do it because I really want to help others, because this is so needed. But my own excuses were getting in my way, and I was not playing full out in my business. I was not committing 100% to one thing and really making it work. I was a bit wishy-washy, really. Like I said I wanted to make it work, but the actions weren't there to back it up. And that was probably the real indicator, was that I had this big idea that I wanted it to work, but when it came to following through, I wasn't. And that was the playing small.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, why I chose Naomi to speak to is we both, you've just heard it yourself, that Naomi doesn't have to do this. And I think that is the thing with a lot of women. They want to, but that actually actualizing that is a different story. So there's usually a lot of things just in our way, more than having to learn something. It's, if this comes down, you express, and then you expressing you. At the end of the day, like my dream would be to make the whole world more harmonious, because when women are free and content and happy, that makes a massive difference. But what areas of life was it playing out in?
Yeah, I think, Maz,
Over in, like,
I just would never go all in on anything. I think even upon reflection, even my marriage, in a way, just not going all in and showing up completely for that, like wholeheartedly, no barriers up. I think even with that was definitely, somewhere else. And then also around having things, so having nice things. A few years ago, I sold a car that my husband bought me because it was too flashy, it was too showy. And I just thought that made me stand out that little bit more than I wanted to. And so I didn't want to go out into the world and go, here I am. And even something as subtle as a car that brought that bit more attention to me, I was like, oh, no, I don't want that. So in quite a number of ways, I think it has definitely shown up for me. Even in the past with the boys, teachers and parents used to say, oh, you're so good at this, you should work with parents who have kids with special needs and you could help them so much. And I'd be like, oh, no, I can't do that, because I just didn't see myself being able to go out there and play big. And I think the biggest fear around that was sustaining it. If I come out big, if I stop playing small and I go for this, it's like I'm putting everything on the line, right?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. You risk, for women, it can feel like everything. You risk everything, like full safety, vulnerability, exposure, public condemnation, all of the stuff.
Yeah, all the things. The risk and the fear of doing that in the nervous system was so real for me.
I think one of the things I loved about your story was, like, how you came to that wisdom that helped you to close all that down to be able to do what you're doing, which we'll share soon. I was just thinking that we don't just have one block. We have at the very deep root, quite often females, that real safety vulnerability thing. And you were actually one of the cases I've seen that was the strongest to resist that thing. That's really brave. It's gutsy because your cause must have been more important in the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And around vulnerability, yeah, I was like, there, I do not want to be vulnerable. Like that to me was the scariest thing on earth, to be vulnerable. Yeah, and to be truly vulnerable, not just, I'm not talking a little bit vulnerable, Maz, I'm talking properly vulnerable. The thought of that, I would have a physical reaction to.
Yeah.
And I don't have that anymore.
Pages. I thought it would be interesting to actually show Naomi a little snippet of actually before she really confronted this issue. I'm going to share the screen.
It can just be a moment where during the week where I'm low on energy.
In that moment, what are you thinking?
I'm not cut out for this. I can't sustain the energy.
In that moment, what are you believing?
I just don't know if I have it in me.
In that moment, how are you seeing yourself?
I guess a little bit weak and lacking what it takes.
In that moment, are you seeing other people?
A lot more consistent than I am.
In that moment, how are you seeing the world?
Uphill battle.
In that moment, how are you seeing life?
Difficult.
In that moment, how are you seeing the future?
It just feels and seems hard.
And how are you reacting?
Pushing through.
How is this affecting your life?
It makes me very inconsistent in how I show up on social media.
What decisions, actions have you been avoiding because of this?
I think maybe just what am I avoiding?
Which
as a result of this?
decisions and
What
actions have you been
and actions?
Avoiding because of this?
Really just going for it in my business, like going for it on the social media, posting.
So what's that to see that back? How long ago was that?
Oh, probably about a month.
Yeah. What's it like to see that back? Before I even ask you what's changed, what's it like to see that?
Seeing that is a really good reminder of just how much things have changed for me internally. And yeah, without going into what I've done, because the biggest concerns for me were the energy. Can I sustain this? Am I even cut out for this? Like I was on the verge of, if I can't make this work,
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to give up because I don't know if I am cut out for it. That's how it felt before.
I know the wisdom that you did get. Do you remember it? Do you remember? Because no one taught you. No one walked in just after that and taught you anything. Where did it come from? Is the first question.
With the method within me, the wisdom was already within me. It was just a matter of accessing it.
I just want women to know that. I want them to know everything is in you. And we've heard it. We've heard it everywhere. You hear it like all the gurus say it. All the greats throughout all of history say you've got it in there. But I think what's interesting is that it was you that had to do it. Do you remember any of the wisdom?
I do. That in a way, staying small was damaging to me. Staying small was the thing that was making me feel not so good. And it was only through moving and growing that I would be able to really radiate and feel amazing and become healthy and share the things that I needed to share. So the wisdom was that the staying small is actually harming. me. And it was my natural design to go and play big.
People don't know that. People will go all their life and not know that, just what you just said. I don't know how many books women have had to read, and they know a lot of that. What's the difference from, surely you knew some of what you learned there or had read it. What's the difference in the knowingness of when you realize that from accessing that deep place for yourself, that no one would have known what to say, but you would have known, read that stuff, some of it at least.
You know what, Maz? I don't actually think I had any conscious awareness that was possible. I honestly don't think that anywhere in my brain I would have thought that playing big was healthier for me. So that's the beauty of the wisdom.
That wisdom was really big. Like, you needed that, and there was no other way. So this is what I'm busting to share, talk about here, to just bring hope to women that it is possible for any woman, even the woman who believes she's least likely to succeed. Because that was me. Like, absolutely, I would be the last person on the planet you would pick back when. So even though it sounds impossible, what I really want to bring to women is that it's actually not, when you understand just this, what we're about to explain, because it's not something anybody really talks about, that is possible, because you would think it's too complicated to do what you've just done, which is make changes and change your daily kind of way of being and everything about this. Yes, you want to share like the story, the metaphor your mind gave you.
Yes, the metaphor that my mind came up with in this was the metaphor of a dung beetle. And this dung beetle was not collecting the dung and growing bigger because it just wasn't. And that was the playing small. It didn't want to, but what it learned, so the dung beetle represented this problem, this issue of staying small, keeping safe. And they thought that staying small and keeping safe meant staying where they were, not collecting the dung, not going out into the world, right? But that was actually making them not like sick, actually unsafe.
For an actual dung beetle. I really want them to understand that your mind presented you something that gave you all the wisdom you needed for your nervous system and for everything to just go, no, you don't. This is, and you just knew what now.
That's right. Yeah, and as it unfolded, and as the dung beetle, and I knew nothing about dung beetles. I had to Google this later. That's it. So it was, and so as it unfolded and it came out of kind of the darkness in a way and started to live by its design, which was to collect the dung. As it did that, the world got bigger and brighter, and the visual at the end was just beautiful, because through collecting the dung and rolling through the beautiful big green earth, it was leaving seeds behind it where these beautiful, colourful flowers were sprouting up from behind it, because it was now playing big and living by its design, and then leaving behind this trail of beauty for others. So yeah, it sounds crazy.
Metaphor, by the way, is something that is a way to learn without actually addressing you and your problem. So it bypasses the critical mind and it goes in the back and it causes a change.
It was just this beetle. I could tell it was, I don't know how we say the first thing that pops in, and is this beetle curled up like a dung beetle is, but it was almost shriveled and small, and it wasn't moving, and it was in the dark. So it wasn't outside in the green, like that came later. It was, the initial image was this little beetle shriveling up in the dark.
Even though that's yours, someone else would have a different one. They might think, oh yeah, that would be mine, but it's not like that, is it?
No, everyone's different. And as I know, when we work with people, it's different all the time, and it can be the most obscure odd thing, that metaphor that helps them to gain the most amazing wisdom.
Women need to know, because this would have been so deep. I wonder if it was even family deep, genetic deep patterning to stay small. Because you did say something. You said you said about your car, for example, but you said you'd even buy dresses and things. Like, you felt guilt for having money. Like, a lot of people will think that money is the thing that they want. Like, we're here to redefine success, if you're watching this, by the way, because success is different things to different people. But when a woman is free of just something like that, then it's a limitless potential of that person if they actualize that, and then they're more likely to. And yet it's just that simple. I think people need to know it's that simple is the main really big thing.
Yeah, that's right. And can I give you another example of how this played out? Because I just thought of it. When money gets tight in our household, I think, oh, we've got to cut back. How can I save? How can we cut back? And since this, I was like, why don't we just make more money? Why would I focus all that energy on cutting back when I could focus that energy on just going out and doing more work and having more success?
So can you share, like, what changed then from that moment? Like,
I don't know. It's just this perspective shift. It was just, that was my old pattern. And then I noticed it and I'm like, that's silly. Why would that doesn't make sense to do that, because it came with a feeling, the old feeling that I used to get with we've got to cut back. It came with a shrinking feeling, like a pulling in, like a coming in. And I was like, no, that's not what we're doing here.
like, all blocks that people don't really know they have, some know what they are shrinking. So even if we look at history and what we've inherited as a biological female, they are more likely to experience certain events because of history and the patriarchal several hundreds of years burned at the stake or whatever. Yeah, to be a woman was terrifying, to be fully yourself. So we've come so far away from being ourselves. And it was so hard for you to do that. And I'm watching you now, like, how much more are you, if that makes sense? Because I feel like that's what everyone wants. They just want to express themselves without it being bad, negative, terrifying, and then not actualizing their causes.
Yeah, I think I am more me than I've ever been. Like, there's no mask. I don't feel any need to hide. Like, even I'm just reflecting on sharing that story publicly about money. Let's make more money. Yeah. I never would have done that before. I'd be, I can't say that. But there's just this natural expression. I don't need to hide anything. Like, I've even committed to doing daily or lives in my Facebook group 5 days a week now. And I know that I'm not always going to be super energetic and happy and on.
No,
but that's actually
absolutely not.
That's part of the point of sharing every day, is there will be days where I can show up as myself and go, hey, I'm just not feeling it today. So that people can see that we're allowed to be all of it.
Yes.
We don't need to filter out the parts that we think others might not like or whatever. We're allowed to be all of it.
That's right. And people don't know that the power is in the mind, that the perceptions, because you needed to change the perception of yourself at the same time as the perceptions of others. So the wisdom was not just what a lot of people think, and especially in the empowerment industry. For women, it's all about me being an unworthy sort of thing, rather than, just standing up and being so brave and gutsy and just like that's my deepest fear. And you were going live all this time after that.
Yeah, I think I've done since in the last month, probably at least 6 to 8 Facebook Lives on my personal page. And then I've started last week doing Monday to Friday, a quick live every day.
And you got events and you got clients and...
Yeah, even the Facebook posts, Maz, that I've done, like another example of the playing small. Like I started doing karate with the kids. We're doing it as a family. It really wasn't my thing at first, but something switched in me where I'm like, I'll just keep grading and moving up through the levels. And there was no self-consciousness. There was no shyness about it. There was no, I need to hold back. It was just like, I'll just do the best that I can. But in this past month, since we've been doing, or since on this journey, I've shared from my heart on Facebook, and I've done quite a few different posts, and they have been the most successful posts in terms of engagement that I've ever had. And I haven't had to think about them much. It's just been sharing from my heart, and that's what's resonating.
That's right. It's like we seek to be led by others, but we can be led by ourselves as well. That intelligence came from in you, yet was just not going to be touched, discovered, known. So that took radical ownership, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's what a big message to women too is, it's okay to own your shizzle. It is really okay. Yeah, especially in safe places where there's other women.
Absolutely. Because, Maz, if we don't recognise that there's a problem, we can't do anything about it, can we?
No. And I dream that women wake up to their power, but just that they are okay. It's an internet world where people can be really mean and vicious and all of that stuff public, but it's you don't die from it. And it feels like that though. It feels like you will. I wouldn't do that, but you can, can't you?
You can, and you don't die. And as soon as I did that first live, it was easier. Then when I did the next one, it was easier. And in my history of doing lives, like I hadn't done them for a few years, but I would have to prepare almost every word I would say. Now I'm just hopping on maybe a few little points, but I'm not writing down a full speech. And if I forget to say something, it doesn't matter. I can say it next time. Like this, before there was so much perfectionism in a way attached to it because I needed it to come off a certain way. But now I just need it to be a true expression of myself. I don't need it to be anything else. And if that resonates, it does. If it doesn't, I'll find out who my people are sooner.
I wonder if anyone noticed the lightness in your face. Do you know what I mean? It's visible change. So that's nice that you've got that sparkle and you're sharing it. And imagine if every woman with a dream just didn't just hit that glass ceiling and that's it. So we want women to know that it's as easy as that, isn't it? It's all in there.
That's
anyway.
right.
It's a matter of getting there and accessing it and getting it, and it's all over just there and then. You don't have to suffer forever.
That's right. And I would like to say that there's no prizes for having the most painful healing journey. And I think it can be a temptation for some because it's normal for their nervous system to stay in their pain, right? So it can be really difficult for people to imagine that healing doesn't have to be filled with suffering and pain and revisiting of the past.
That's right.
Doesn't have to be that way. And there's no prizes for dragging yourself through that. You don't get a medal at the end for going through the most traumatic healing journey, right?
I've just written a thing that there are 15 elements to pivotal, irreversible, quick change. And about 6 are in methods. Like it's very rare to get to 10. But there are really 15, and several of those are conscious. So It's the conscious part, though, to emulate it. You talk to anyone that's had a natural wake-up call, and they'll say not long before that, they decided they really were ready, but they still didn't have the follow through, the, what do you call it? Resolve, yes, definitely. But the resilience. Resilience, because getting back up, what causes that? This is, there's no choice. I'm changing my life. I think it's not that hard, but if women have said that to themselves, then they probably are ready. They just need to go that bit further. And I love that one of the big and really important things that women need to know is if you have the right kind of wake-up call, like on purpose one, that you actually no longer blame everything around people, the world, and yourself, like women do. Geez, they beat themselves up. Hey, like I did. I was just pathetic, I thought. Absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, I felt the same before.
Yeah,
I don't feel like that now.
Any other changes you want to share? I know it hasn't been a really long time, but I think the breakthrough is just so big that it's, any other changes you noticed?
I just think once the internal shift happens, and this could be the secret with other people's wake-up calls, is the ability to do the external stuff is there. So you can, because the internal thing's resolved, to take the action is now 10 times easier, and you can also take on other information and apply it really quickly and easily because you don't have all your own old limitations in the way.
Yeah,
it just makes everything easier.
Yeah, yes. It's just layers on top of a person's full essence and aliveness not being expressed. And women have been oppressed. And we know epigenetics is true, that family patterns do run, and that people, we are predisposed in certain families, even if you fight against it. In fact, the more you fight against it, the more it likely happens, from my research. And so it's almost like the energy you put in that's strong against it comes back and hits you in the face, and it happens, the very thing. So breaking the cycle is really good, because I bet you're a better role model as a mum now.
Absolutely. 100%.
Relationship with your partner.
I think he's got back the woman he married now. Like, it will be even better, I reckon. Yeah. But just, there's nothing being held back. My heart was really closed before doing all of this work, and I felt so bad about myself that I couldn't let people in. And as I've been through this journey, my heart has opened more, and it opened first to others, to friendships. And my poor husband was really the last to get a look in a way. But when it happened, when I realized, I've been keeping myself closed off, it was a defense mechanism.
Yes.
It was a self-protective mechanism.
Yes. So women do have this thing that men don't have, and that is they see they are themselves here, and they see people looking back at them, and this is the self they think they are. But even when they come to know themselves, they think it's still that, but they are being them, but they are behind the shield. And I call it, like, I feel like I'm on the greatest unmasking project ever of women, setting women free, but also unshielding.
Yeah, because the thought of being vulnerable was sickening to me. If the heart rate would go up, the tears would flow. I couldn't even talk my truth. And now I can, and it's not scary. I'm not worried about all the things that might happen. I'm just worried about, not even worried, I'm just most focused on showing up as myself without compensating, adjusting, changing. Whereas before I was so closed off because that the fear of maybe the rejection or the not being loved regardless was enough to keep me keeping that mask you just described on, because it was, I've got to protect this.
Mm-hmm.
chains and lock around this heart, right? And that's all come off. Like, I can love fully now because I know that whatever happens, it's all a part of the experience of life. I don't need to protect myself from anything because I know I can get through anything regardless. But wouldn't you rather be rejected or be loved for the real you, not the person you're trying to be? Like, that's not even you?
I think, yes, when you say that, I think, though, women wouldn't be able to quite fathom that when they're there still in it, but they need to hear that it's possible, and they need to hear that you don't die from it. You actually just, guess what? Nothing. You just are you, and you just then express, and you don't have those concerns that ate you up. Like some women, it just absolutely just eats them up, that their head is just all deprecating. How stupid am I? How stupid am I? How stupid am I not to do that? I know what I got to do, but I don't do it. And then suddenly when that's gone, it's, oh, and I know what to do. It's like you're led. I call it leadership instead of leadership, because, yeah, you lead yourself. You're kind of led because you're just going to take the action that presents itself when opportunity strikes. So then guess what happens when those things happen and we don't just run away and hide in the corner and don't seize opportunities? And now I just dream that we pass this on to our girls and heal their hearts so easily and quickly. We make harmonious homes, which makes harmonious communities. Mm-hmm. And I think will help once it's really like a world thing. I think it's really then going to be healing to relationships and even to men to not have to push. I feel like women's self-esteem is the ways that women see themselves. It's sad. I've worked with 4 women in particular with the eating disorders, and it's just absolutely, I mean, they hate themselves so much they cut themselves physically to try and punish themselves for being who they are. That just drives me nuts. And now they don't. One of them sent me the other day photos of her graduation. Oh. So it is though, like, we are changing. We need to get it out. So yeah, thanks for sharing your story today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I just want to add one thing is, if we can heal ourselves, then if children are being raised by mothers who are emotionally attuned, who are present, who can be there properly for their children and demonstrate empowerment, demonstrate that it is possible to chase your dreams and do the things that you want to do, demonstrate that resilience and that determination when something's really important to them. If women are able to do this and raise their kids in a beautiful way because they are more present to themselves, then those boys are going to grow up different to how our current men have.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. I think the mother, she is a cornerstone of a whole family unit. She's a major part of a family. She is the major part. There isn't even a freaking family without that. So there are no people. I don't think the bearers of humans should suffer.
No, and we teach them how to treat us. Yeah. And so we are their first role model and teacher of how they should treat a woman. You look at how women are treated, that comes from not seeing what it's supposed to be like.
That's right.
And we have the power to change that.
That's right. We absolutely do. Women do not know their power. And I think it's never too late either. Like, even if your children are grown, I think even if you're 75, you can still look back and go, damn it, I wish I did a better job. But you don't have to suffer till the day you die. You can heal your heart and then share that and pass that on. Thank you, Naomi. Yeah, so we seek the outer help, but really it's the inner, the help sitting inside the person who beats herself up. Her actual answers and her empowerment is on the inside of her. She has no idea. Like, you wouldn't have known you were that wise, that you had all of that in you. So Yeah, that's what it's all about. So yes, it just starts with radical ownership for anybody. And if you want to get in contact with Naomi, or you're interested in unblocking, you can just find us on Facebook and follow us there, and I'll put links and everything into the recording. So you just DM us. So thank you, Naomi. And
Thank you, Maz.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on and letting me share my story. And yeah, I think it's just so important for women to know what's possible. So yeah, it is absolutely phenomenal what is possible for us when we shift internally. What we can then do externally is immeasurable, really.
I think between all of us that coming to these awarenesses now, and we pass that on, and people need to know that it's an alternative. You don't have to anymore. It's not like the old days where you have to struggle and be stuck and pass it on for the next 20,000 bloody generations or whatever. It's not. You can do it for those you love as well as yourself.
That's right. Thank you for the opportunity. Wonderful conversation. It's so needed. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All right.